had a resolution passed in the House that apologized for slavery. A Democrat that apologized for slavery. Every single Republican signed on to it. To me, that's the most ludicrous thing I have ever heard in my entire life. Because if a Republican knew his history, he would have said, fine, you guys apologize because we tried to stop it. And then history would have been, everybody in the United States of America would have understood the history. But that's not what happened. So that's why this information, in my opinion, needs to get out. Leonidas Dyer, the anti-lynching bill, it passed in the House with 230 to 119. You guys need to understand that 3,500 people were lynched, about 3,500 to 4,000 people were lynched. 2/3 of those were black, 1/3 of those were white. They tell you that people were lynched because a black guy looked at a white girl funny or he talked to her or something like that. They went out and they lynched him. The reason they did interviews with KKK members. The reason they lynched people was because they were voting for Republicans. That's why they were lynching people. It's to stop them from voting for Republicans. Stop them from, because they wanted to bring the Democratic Party back into power. And they don't tell you this stuff.
That still happens in Broward.
200. What did he say? I didn't hear that.
It still happens in Broward.
Yeah. This passed with 230 to 119, the anti-lynching bill, in the House of Representatives, 1922. Of the 119, 103 of them were Democrats. 103 of the 119 were Democrats that voted against the anti-lynching bill. Filibustered in the Senate, and it never made it out. All the historical black colleges were started, funded, organized, founded, supported by Republicans. Because the Democrats wouldn't do it. In coordination with churches.
Why were the Republicans so wimpy and why didn't they stand up for it?
Interesting. I don't know. It makes absolutely no sense to me. But the only thing that I can say is that they don't know. Is that the history books have been for generations, for like 3 or 4 generations, been wiped clean, that you have to go dig to find the information, which is basically what I've done. Now, I'm going to go through this. This is my path to race, the race and identity politics, colonial governors, U.S. slave owners, Confederacy, Jim Crow and segregation, progressivism, eugenics, KKK, socialism, communism. All of those have one thing in common. They all have one thing in common. And that's the difference between being a Republican and being a Democrat. The one thing they have in common is they need to control. They need to have control. So, path to individual freedom. The abolitionists, founding fathers, American Revolution, Republican Party, Civil War, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, Civil Rights Act of 1875 and 1964, all driven by Republicanism. The idea of individual freedom. That is your legacy. And that is a legacy that needs to get out everywhere within these next 2 years. And if this information gets out to everybody within this next 2 years, we will change America. I am batting 1,000 right now. Every single person that I don't call people minorities, but society does. I call them American citizens, as far as I'm concerned. But those that consider themselves minorities, I am batting 1,000 right now. Because once they hear the truth, they get upset like I got upset. And they say we've been voting for the wrong party. I need everybody to contact John Thrasher, because this information needs to get out. And Rick Scott. This gentleman said this, "And men will recognize that of one blood God made all men to dwell upon the face of the earth. Let us be dissatisfied until the day when nobody will shout white power, when nobody will shout black power, but everybody will talk about God's power and human power." And that was the information that somebody told me that I swore was false. But it gave me the impetus to go out and do the research. All right. Now, I'm finished. I'm done. I took too much time. But we need to, like I said, I need to continue to get this message out. If you'd like for me to come back and do the entire presentation, I would absolutely love to. I came down from Brevard. I'll come down again. It's not a big deal to me. But if you like the message, if you believe in the message, and if you think that this message will change America, please support me and maybe buy me some dinner. I put envelopes at your tables, so if you'd like to donate, because I don't ask for, usually if I go do a seminar at an organization, it's about $3,500. For Republican organizations, it's paramount to get this information out to as many people as possible. A couple of things, and if you've got deep pockets, please, you know, $100 is just fine with me, all right? But as important as that, I have sign-up sheets in the back table over there. Everything on that back table is $5, by the way. I have sign-up sheets on the back table. Sign your name up. If you have an organization, I want to come talk to your organization. If you have a small organization, fine. We'll get a bunch of small organizations together and we'll get this information out to as many people as possible. So please connect with me. Last thing is, I have a book coming out. It should be coming. It's going to come out at the beginning of December. It's about this seminar and some of this. I mean, a lot more stuff than I talked about today. And so you can find me online. I have my business cards. Talk to me about it. And if you have an opportunity, please connect with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, friends. I think you did a fantastic job there. We appreciate it. Sorry we had to rush you. Well, folks, Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart is in the house, so let's give him a cheer. I'm going to invite Jack Murphy, who has been instrumental in running the Victory Office along with Chris Zadie and many others. He worked tirelessly through the entire time our Miramar Victory Office is open. Let's all give him a standing ovation.
It's easy to follow a good leader. I called the congressman's office this afternoon and I tried to get a little heads up because, to be honest, I really don't know you. I've got a battle on my hands with a gentleman named Alcee, I'm impeached again, Hastings. So I was really concentrating on that and Miss Karen's race. I apologize for that. But anyway, I asked them both the same question. What would you like me to say? And here's what they wanted me to say. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Congressman Diaz-Balart.
Good answer. Thank you. Yeah, let me first say the following. Look, first, thank you for the opportunity to be here with you tonight. You know, I've been in Congress now. I'm going to now my 8th year. But it's the first time that I'm going to have the opportunity to represent Broward County. And I will tell you, I do have a little bit of an advantage here. I'm the only person born in Broward County in the House of Representatives, in the U.S. House of Representatives. Because I was born in Broward County, but having said so, I want to make it very clear what I'm going to tell you, which is it is up to me to earn your trust. And it's not the other way around. It's up to me to earn your support, and not the other way around. And I intend to do so. I've had the privilege, as you know, I had the privilege to now be elected in District 21 for the last 8 years. I served, and I currently serve in District 25 to January. But I'm not here to talk about myself. I'm here to do two things. First place, to thank you, because you know, being a Republican in Broward County is just not an easy task.
We know.
But it's gotten a lot easier after Colonel West just got elected. And I will tell you that, I think it got a lot easier around the country to become a Republican, and to be a Republican, and to be a proud Republican because of Nancy Pelosi. And absolutely. Now, I don't want to bum you out. I know I'm you know, basically like between you and your homes already, so I will be brief. But I do want to mention a couple things. Look, I think for a long time, the American people kind of got into this attitude that there's not a lot of, I used to see that even from the people that we like in talk shows, and even talk radio. You know, there's not a big difference between Republicans and Democrats. And it's true that Republicans, and I'm the first to say it, we lost the majority in the House when we lost it because we deserved to lose it. Now, yes, the other side deserved to get it much less. But we deserve to lose it because we lost our way. We really did. We borrowed too much and we spent too much. So I guess a lot of people are saying, well, you know, they're just like the Democrats. Well, look, even in our worst moments, we've never been like the Democrats. That's not good enough. But I think now the American people are starting to learn who the Democrats really are. And I don't want to scare you. And I don't want you to, you know, get a little bit depressed tonight. But where are we today? In just 4 years. 4 years. Where have they brought us? Where have they taken us? We've all seen what's going on in Europe, right? Greece, you know how to get bailed out by the European Union. They're about 111% of GDP in debt. And they literally had to get bailed out because, you know, the private markets stopped lending. Spain's the next one. That was basically going bankrupt. And even, I have to chuckle, this is true, even President Obama called the Prime Minister and said, you know, you have to stop spending so much and borrowing so much. I know it sounds funny, but this is true. It's actually true. Well, they're at 55, about 55% of GDP. The private market started all getting a little scared, by the way. And their rankings, their bond rates started dropping. You know where we are this year? 60%. And growing. Now, you don't hear much about it because it's the United States of America, for God's sake. So they're still lending us money. And they're actually still eager to lend us money because I think the world is saying, it's the United States of America, they're not going to just allow themselves to implode. Well, you've all heard it this year, for the first time since the Budget Act, the Democrats didn't even present a budget. And I sit on the Budget Committee, and that was rather intriguing. Not even have a budget presented. They were just spending without having a budget, hoping that the American people wouldn't notice, I guess. But the president did have to submit a budget, and he did. And if you look at where the president not only has taken us, has brought us to the brink of this precipice, but where he is taking us in the near future, it goes to 750% of GDP. I mean, but it really doesn't because we implode before that, obviously. So when you hear all the economists, right, left, conservatives, and Democrats, they'll spin it differently, but they all say one thing, it's unsustainable. It is unsustainable. So thank God that the American people now realize, frankly, the mistake that was made. And now it's up to us, because I know that we're all celebrating still. I'm still a little giddy, particularly by some of the races. We got rid of racism.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he was a colorful character. He really was. And he still is. He's still there. And we got rid of Speaker Pelosi. Looks like we might have her as minority leader, Pelosi. Oh, it's a gift that just keeps on giving. She's a gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, I know that. I know that. I know that. But so we're all kind of still celebrating, but now the real work begins. And let me tell you, it's going to be a few very difficult years. I was telling people when I was asked before the elections, as we kept getting closer, and they're asking, you know, how do you feel? And I said, you know, I feel really, really good about it. I feel really, really good about it. Because I believe that this is the most important election in our country's history since the Civil War. And I believe that this one and the next one are the most important elections in our nation's history since the Civil War. Now, we've had really important elections. You know, we all remember the nightmare that Carter was, and thank God, where this incredible leader, Reagan, emerged. But I will tell you that this is even more of a dangerous time right now. And so we've done the first thing. We can stop the bleeding. We can stop the craziness, but we can't turn it around. We can't get rid of the legislation. We can try to stop implementing parts of the legislation. And we're going to do so. And I think there's a commitment in Congress, and you know, we've had multiple conversations already, and before the elections, that we know what it takes to save the country. And by the way, this is not a big, like, eye-opener. It's not that we've gotten really smart. It's just that the options are very few now. Because we have two options. We can either continue in the path that we were headed towards, and we were going to implode. Yeah, we're going to fall over the cliff. Or we're going to have to make tough decisions. We're going to have to make some really tough decisions. Now, there are decisions that every family makes every single month, and that every business makes every single month. So it shouldn't be that complicated and shouldn't be that hard. But we're going to get criticized from here to kingdom come. Remember, by the time these 2 years are over, Republicans, we're going to be the party that hates dogs, kittens, kids, women, men, everything. We're going to be accused of everything. But the reality is it's the state that is, it's the country that's at stake. So I feel invigorated. I feel enthusiastic. I feel ready for this challenge. Why? Because every moment that I'm awake, particularly when I go to meetings like this where it's full of patriots, American patriots, I'm reminded of the ones who are not here tonight. The ones who can never be here. And I don't care if you go to a baseball game, or you go to a political rally, or you go to a community organization meeting. There's a group of people that are never there, but that allow us to do those things. And that's the men and women in uniform of our armed forces. And every day I remember the sacrifices, day in, day out, that they do for us and that their families do for us. And I think, my God, yes, this is the greatest nation that God has ever allowed man and woman to build on the face of this earth. And yes, we finally are not going to allow for people to apologize for the greatness of the United States. And yes, we are proud of this country, not now, not because of an election, but because of what this country is all about. And yes, we're going to turn it around. And we're going to do it with your help, with your dedication, with what nobody knows better than Broward Republicans, which is the hard work that it takes. So I feel really optimistic. I feel good about this country. This is the greatest place ever. We're going to turn it around. It's going to be difficult, but it would not have been possible. The battle that's about to start, and it's going to be a huge battle, would have not been possible without your support, without your hard work, without your dedication, your patience, and your perseverance. So thank you, and if you have any questions, I'd like to answer. I'll have JBDMC, that way you guys don't get mad at me, you get mad at me. All right, there you go.
Let's get the question.
Okay.
I'm happy.
Jim.
Go ahead, Jim.
How can we shut the water off, meaning the money off to California? They're getting money
Yeah.
through ways that you can't really shut it off. And we've got to do something about it, because they seem to be playing a game that's completely, they're oblivious to what's going on, and they're spending right now $1.50 for every dollar they're taking in, and that's got to stop. And you're going to have to be able to cut their money off. And if I
How do we do it? You know, by the way, I think California, I actually feel that, and I don't make sure that I don't sound, I feel sorry for California. They had an opportunity to save themselves in this election.
But they think that the government's going to save them.
Well, but look at that. I mean, they're one of the highest taxed states in the country, and they're bankrupt. By the way, if you look at the highest taxed states in the country, they're the ones who are in the worst fiscal shape, for obvious reasons. How are we going to cut off the money? We have to cut it off. Look, when I was I spent 14 years in the state legislature before I got elected to Congress. I got elected to Congress in 2002. I spent 14 years in the state legislature before that. And for a short period of time, which was the first time in 122 years when the Republicans took control of any of the two chambers of the legislature, in 122 years, I was given the responsibility of chairing what was called then the Ways and Means Committee, but it was in essence, they combined the Appropriations Committee, the Ways and Means Committee, the Finance and Tax Committee, and the Budget Committee. And they said, we're going to show that we're different. And let me tell you what I did. What I did is I went to every agency in the government, every single one, and I said, come back to me with a budget with 25% cuts. And I said, I didn't want across the board cuts. I said, give me, and I had basically 4 categories. And based on that, we were able to, for the first time in recent memory. Now, when you look at the state legislature, we've had better years and, better legislatures and worse legislators. legislative years, but before the Republicans took control of the state legislature, you'll recall that we were #1 in violent crime in the country. And remember, every election season we would have the usually black and white grainy commercials with the revolving door. Remember those? You don't see those anymore in Florida. It took 1 year to solve that. Because what the Democrats would do is that they would fund all their pet projects first. Then they would run out of money, and they would say, oh look, there's not enough money for education, there's not enough money for public safety, so we got to raise taxes. They would do this every year. So every year when the Democrats controlled the state legislature, despite the years of huge growth, every year we had 3 to 4 to 5% and sometimes greater percent tax increases in the state of Florida. And yet we couldn't deal with the issues. So let me tell you what I did. I did that. And in that session, even though the Republicans only controlled one chamber, sounds familiar, one chamber, we cut taxes, we funded essential services. The budget that we came out of in the Senate was actually smaller than the previous year's budget, and yet funded our essential services. By the way, there were some tough decisions that had to be made. And based on that, I was called by all the editorial boards. By the way, I've always worn it as a badge of honor, as the slasher. It wasn't used as a positive thing, as you can well imagine. It's a long answer to tell you, you cut the money by cutting the money. By just shutting off the valve. You want to get prioritization in government? Squeeze the valve. You want to get essential services funded and not garbage funded? You squeeze the valve. But that's not government. I mean, think about it. It happens to us with our own money. At least it should, you all are a friend. You're a friendly crowd, so I'll tell you this. It happens to me at home. You know, when you're doing all right with money and you're flush with money, you're not too concerned about, whether you spend a little bit more here and maybe, you spend a little bit more than you should. You're not too concerned about it. Now, when things get tight, then you start going, whoa, man, how much am I spending on? How much did I pay on cable last month? How much was my electric bill last month? When you got money? Now, imagine if it's not your money. If it's somebody else's money.
It's pretty easy.
It's pretty easy. You have to cut it off. Well, I think we've just done it last Tuesday. I really do. I really do. I think what the American people are saying to our government is stop the insanity. Stop the insanity.
What about the president's trip to India with the 3,000 people that's costing taxpayers a fortune, and he's taking the engineers to dig a tunnel for him because it's dangerous, so he can go and visit some shrine. That's our money. How can they do that? How can Pelosi take a bigger plane just because she decides she wants to take a bigger plane, not to make a stop, and we have to pay for it?
I know. By the way, another concern about greenhouse gases, which I think is kind of funny. But look, the American people sent a clear message. But I am going to tell you all is that we're going to need, remember this was the first step. And this was a very difficult step. This is the first step. This is allowing us to be in the battle. But the battle now is beginning. January is when the battle begins, not ends. So we're going to need you more than ever to do two things. To keep those of us there, our feet to the fire, which I know you'll do. That doesn't worry me. Yeah. But secondly, to make sure that the American people understand what's at stake here. Because we are where we are. The days of I was telling this to people and friends. I've got some friends who are Democrats, and I deal with them every day. We're winning these battles every day. And I keep telling people the days of the debate even being whether Republicans are going to lower your taxes, Democrats are going to raise your taxes. That's all true. Whether it's less regulation versus more regulation, that's all true. But let me tell you, we're beyond that. We're beyond that by a mile. What we're dealing with now is if we're going to leave our kids, including my 5-year-old, the country that we know. That's what's at stake here today. And it sounds over dramatic, and it isn't. What we're dealing with is there are some people, and I don't want to get overly complicated, but if you get just about every liberal arts professor, highest respect for them, just about every liberal arts professor, and you listen to them, what will they tell you? That profit is evil. U.S. military, by the way, is an occupation force. They're evil. The profit is evil, the private sector is evil, big corporations are evil, and frankly, the world would be safer and a better place if the United States was just frankly weaker. Well, get a liberal arts professor and put him in the White House.
That's what we did.
That's why it shouldn't surprise us. It just shouldn't surprise us. Because anybody who's ever been to, has had one liberal arts professor, if you've had one, you've had them all. I mean, you might find a couple. It's different if you, I guess, if you're an engineer, but that's what we're dealing with. So that's why we shouldn't be surprised. And what we're dealing with here is whether we're going to leave our kids, and it's no longer, my grandkids that I don't have, because I have a 5-year-old, as I told you. No. We're talking about my kid and whether we will see the same country that we have been blessed to have been left by our forefathers. But I'm optimistic. I really, really am optimistic.
Folks, understand.
That's why I'm blaming it on him. Blame it on him. See that?
Understand something. We had the Vietnam War won. We had it won. Congress took the money away from us. That stopped the war the next day almost. Okay? My suggestion, twofold. Abolish the Department of Energy. Number 2, abolish Health and Human Services. That takes care of Obamacare.
Well, I think you're going to see some very aggressive, I hope you're going to see some very aggressive action. Look, and there's so much we can do, and there's so much we can do. I mean, whether it's immediately defunding the 16,000 new IRS agents.
That's a good start.
That's a good start, yeah. I mean, there's so much that we can do, and I'll talk to you a little bit later privately about some of the strategic, or as Bush used to say. But I think you're going to see some very aggressive positions from the House. I really do. Well, again, because we don't have a choice. Even if we didn't, it's in my nature, but even if we didn't want to do it, we have no choice.
How do you think we can attack the health care bill? Defund it, or what's your thought on that one?
Can't repeal it.
We can't repeal it, not until 2012. I think that's going to be the battle for 2012, by the way. But I think we can defund key aspects of it. By the way, key also is the lawsuit here in the state of Florida. Because if you get rid of that, which by the way is savage, do you imagine if the federal government can tell you that you have to purchase something? Is there no limit, none, to the power of the federal government? And that's what that battle is all about. If that succeeds, a big part of their funding goes away, and it starts to kind of fall apart. But we can go after parts of it and to defund some of the parts that are, first we have to go after the low-hanging fruit. And then it starts falling apart. I mean, think about that. I mean, just little parts. You all realize, right, that in the health care bill, that every business in the country that spends $600 cumulatively over a year has to file 1099 with the IRS.
I thought that didn't go through.
Oh yes, it's part of the bill. That's I think it's a $17 billion funding aspect of the bill. So, if you start targeting some of those, and then it starts getting very interesting. So I think, we can't eliminate it, but we can, I think, go after some of the most egregious parts, and then, eventually we'll have to come back and do a real healthcare reform, which we all want to do.
One of the biggest problems, I might add rather, one of the biggest problems with both the administration and the legislature, frankly, they've forgotten we have a 10th Amendment. Totally forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's disgusting.
Yeah, no, I know, you're absolutely right. Look, I'm there, and anything I can do to shrink the size of the federal government, I'll do. I just think it's way too big, it's way too bloated, it's way too heavy, and it's way too unmanageable, and it really is. So, I agree with you.
Got a semi-technical question. Do you retain your seniority from the other district even though you transferred?
Yes, ma'am.
What are your expected committee assignments?
Ooh, now you're... I'm in that process right now.
Okay.
Look, I am in thank God I'm in very good shape. Because, as you know, it does take seniority, and
Yes.
that's just the way it is, and it's not going to change. I am in very good shape. The main committee that I sit on the budget committee, but the main committee that I sit on is transportation infrastructure. And I will be, if it all works out, I should be a subcommittee chairman in TNI. And that's a big deal, particularly for a state like Florida. However, I am looking at the option of maybe moving into a different committee. We'll talk about that. So I do keep seniority, but there's going to be a lot of changes now. There's going to be, I think the freshman class of Republicans it's like 80 or 70 class. I mean, it's a huge class. It's a huge class.
We have some, I don't envy your position. We've done our job and put you in Congress, but now the real work begins. We have domestic problems and we have international problems.
We do.
Domestically, we've got to bite the bullet. Let the California go bankrupt, the potheads in California go bankrupt. Don't give them any money. Cut out the sacred cows. Instead of going to the moon and Mars, we may have to cut NASA or defer that.
They already did.
I mean, completely. I know we put people out of work in Florida and Texas, but there's so many out of work anyway. We got to save the country. Internationally, it's the other way around. We have to spend more money on the military. Well, we have an international threat from the Islamics. We may have to nuke Iran, which involves major war.
Not our.
We have to kill the Somali
Not
pirates,
his.
and we may have to reinstitute the military draft.
We got some challenges. No, I don't believe that we need to institute the military draft.
But I
The
think we
military
do.
doesn't want the military.
No, we have the best military that we've ever had, and
And it's all volunteer.
it's because of volunteers. We do have some serious challenges. We have some serious challenges. I will tell you, without naming names, that every time I meet with a head of state or an ambassador, I don't meet with our enemies. I just don't. All right? I just don't. But whenever I meet with an ally, and I'll meet with the ones that are kind of like, on the verge, that are a little bit on the ropes, that are a little bit on the gray side. But what I will tell you is that they are as concerned as we are about the lack of leadership. And I will tell you that they know what we know, which is that the world is a safer place when the United States is strong. And clearly we're a safer place when we are strong. And this president not only has devastated this economy, has frankly brought us to the verge of bankruptcy. And Pelosi and Reid, because they were a big part of it, by the way. But internationally, the president has really weakened us substantially. Now, it's interesting, they have spent money on everything you could ever think of and things that you cannot think of. Seriously. I use it as an example. If right now, you open a newspaper tomorrow and you saw, let's pick a country, Norway, Guatemala, pick any country. And you realize, and you read an article that says, the president of Norway, the prime minister or the president of, Nicaragua, well, that's that guy probably would do it. But Honduras, right? They created a web page for the presidency, and it cost them $1 million. What would we call it? We wouldn't call it waste. We'd say, look at that, man. Someone's pocketing $1 million here, right? That's corruption, right? You know how much the web page that the White House created cost? Anybody guess? Anybody know how much anybody does web pages? Anybody ever create a web page here?
Mine costs $22 a month.
All right, okay. But right, you can do it for 25 grand.
$5 million.
What's that?
They spent $5 million.
How about 18? On a web page. That's stimulus money, by the way.
Union?
Stimulus. It's a good question. Not to mention the fact that even campaign consultants. Hey, look, I like campaign consultants. I'm in the business, right? I'm in politics. I use campaign consultants. I like them. But what on earth are they doing getting stimulus money? And I can tell you that, how they justify campaign consultants that helped the president and other cronies get elected? You know how they justify their stimulus money? It sounds funny, except that it's real money. Because of the generosity of the American people, we subsidize, you, because it's you. It's coming from us, right? All of us. We subsidize when TV went from analog to digital. For low-income people, we subsidized the boxes. Remember that? We spent a ton of money. Well, in the stimulus, so-called stimulus, there was money that went to campaign consultants to plug in the boxes.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, so, right, you see that in another country, you don't call it waste. Because that's not waste. That's outright graft. That's corruption. That's Chicago-style corruption.
Scott,
Hey, Scott, I didn't see you. My eyesight's not as good as it used to be.
Can you, as a Republican, going back to Pelosi being the minority leader, can you, as a Republican, affect that vote if Keith Schuler or somebody challenges her? Can Republicans have a strategy to keep her as the minority leader?
We've, you know, I'll tell you what. We're, you know, I don't want to, since, you know, this may get out now, I'm really hoping that she doesn't pull it off, because she's, but we're praying. We're praying. Look, I think she's going to pull it off. I think she's going to win. I think she's going to win. I think she is, it's going to be one more dramatic example of the difference between Republicans and Democrats. This is not your grandfather's Democratic Party. It just isn't. This is, right, this is a different animal. I think she's going to win. I think she's going to pull it off. Because remember that she's got a hardcore group of radicals that support her no matter what. And I don't think she's going to be really challenged, by the way. That's what I'm hearing so far. Let's see. You know, I think it'd be fun having her as a minority leader. It's been a dreadful having her as speaker, but it'll be fun having her as a minority leader.
Jim, go ahead.
How soon can we get the free trade agreements finalized and finished? The ones with Panama and...
South Korea and Colombia. Speaking of allies that are our friends that we've abandoned, it's a very dangerous time to be an ally in the United States right now with this White House. It's a great time to be an enemy because they will appease you, they will give you time, they'll talk to you, and they'll, you know, shake hands and, you know, swap books. Right, yeah. Right. Look, I have a resolution that I'm working on demanding that the President send us the free trade deal. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to file that in the lame duck session or if I'm going to file it in January. When I got to Congress, you know, there's a caucus for everything in Congress. I created a couple of them, a few of them. I created the Everglades Caucus, for example. I also created the Venezuelan Democracy Caucus to bring back, to try to help the Venezuelan people who are struggling for freedom. I also created the Friends of Colombia Caucus. And you want to create jobs without spending one taxpayer dollar, and you can do that immediately, pass a free trade deal with Colombia, particularly the Colombian one. Panama as well, but Colombia in particular, they're a huge trading partner. We've lost a lot of market because they haven't been sitting idle since we signed that deal. They've got the European Union one now, but they already signed the one with Canada, and we're losing market share, including on agriculture products, with Canada. So, you know, it's really interesting. When I was in Colombia for the swearing in of the new president, we met with General Jones, who was the highest person that the White House sent, which I thought was interesting. Colombia, this is a huge ally, neighboring Venezuela, where you have, you know, charter flights going from Tehran to Caracas every day. And you have a huge ally in Colombia who are the example of what democratic countries who are well run and with the U.S. helping them should be. And the highest person they could send was General Jones, who is, you know, is the National Security Advisor. So in a meeting with him, I asked him point blank, and I will tell you what I asked him, this was not a secret thing. I asked him, I said, General, you know, same thing, you know, tell me about the free trade deal. And he said, well, Congressman, you know, it's, and he went on to it for a few minutes. He said it's a national security issue for the United States of America. Which is what a lot of us believe, by the way. It's an economic issue, but it's also a national security issue. So then I had a follow-up question, because, you know, it was just a small meeting with us, a few members. And I said, well, General, so why aren't you doing it? Why has the President refused to send it to Congress? He said, oh, because of politics. National Security Advisor, United States, told a group of us, Senator Lemieux, the other Broward County guy, was there. He heard it. A few of us, Connie Mack was there. And he literally said, it's a national security issue, but, you know, we're not doing it because of politics. So, need I say more? So, no, we're going to push for it, and I think we'll be able to pass, you know, if the President sends it to us, we'll pass it. We'll finally pass it.
All right, last question. Gail, go
Yeah,
ahead.
you mentioned corruption, and we're all very aware that there had to be a lot of corruption. There have been probably trillions of dollars accounted
Oh,
for,
yeah,
et cetera.
absolutely.
Now that we have started taking the country back, what are the chances that we will Darrell Issa, for example, investigate them, hold some of them on criminal charges, and is there a possibility of getting some restitution of money back into our coffers that got somehow out?
Well, I'm kind of intrigued when all the press, all the left press keeps saying, oh, where are they going to cut? Where are they going to cut? They don't want to say, what we're going to cut? The first thing we got to do is all the unspent stimulus.
Yes.
All of it. We got to find it. We got to track it down, and not spend it on something else. No. We have to not spend it. Period. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, yes, absolutely. One of the issues is that we will have the opportunity, and I'm glad you mentioned Darrell Issa. I think he's done a spectacular job, and he did it in the minority. So you better believe that we will be looking at corruption. We will be looking at, look, and then there's some other things that are not even so blatant, but they are. They had, I guess, one of the largest majorities in the history of the country, right, of our history. And they still couldn't pass their cap and trade bill.
Thank God.
I know, but think about what kind of bill, they passed healthcare. They passed stimulus. They passed everything. They couldn't pass cap and trade. Imagine how bad it is, right? That Congress, that could pass anything, couldn't pass that bill. But now they're doing it now through the administration. So now we'll be able to bring them in. And when they start with the whole rule-making process, we'll be able to bring them in. We'll be able to discuss it. We'll be able to find out what they're doing. And can we stop them necessarily? No, because the White House is the White House. But we can at least highlight it. And usually when you highlight some of these things, they tend to back off.
Impeach him. He did it with Gore. They started the Chicago Climate Exchange. Again, an impeachment, we've only had, 3 impeachments? Well, 2 really, right? So that's right, because Nixon never went that far. That's right. Right. Okay. No, that is the last thing we want to do. What we want to do, what we need to do, however, is highlight to the American people the greed, the corruption, the mismanagement, the irresponsibility, and the recklessness. And let me tell you, there's so much of it that the issue is to pick which ones. The Justice Department, it's not that they have not enforced. No, they are selectively deciding what laws to enforce. Department of Justice, IRS, EPA, you can go on, OSHA. Just go on and on and on and on. And so, no, let me tell you, we're going to have our hands full, but yes, I think you're going to see some well thought out, picking the issues that are real, and that we think that we have a shot at doing something with. And I will tell you that remember I started tonight telling you that I thought the Republicans, we lost the majority in Congress because we deserved to lose. But I will end tonight, because he said that was the last question, I will end tonight telling you something else. I think a couple things, and only time will tell. I think the Republicans in Congress now, and the ones who have just got elected, do get it. We get it. Again, because we also got hit, we got hit on the side of the head by a brick, because we are on the verge of bankruptcy, because we don't have a lot of options. And I think Republicans got it. We get it, but we also got it not now. We got it a little while ago. If you look at, you mentioned Darrell, how since we've been in the minority, and remember that, I can tell you that one of the most down days I've had is, I got re-elected last time around, and I got up there and there weren't that many of us. And remember all
all the talking heads and all the experts were saying the Republican Party had disintegrated. Remember, people were talking that we're going to be the next Whig Party. And from that day, there was an effort by you all and by those of us who were listening to you. And it was driven not by Congress, it was driven by the people. But we started listening again, which is what we had not done before. And I say we because I was there. I mean, I didn't have that much seniority. I'm finally, hopefully, we'll have some. But I think we all. I take my portion of blame there as well. We started listening, and ever since that day, we started, I think, in a very smart way, highlighting the issues. And I can tell you that, for example, that first vote on the stimulus, when all of the press was saying, this is it, man. You vote against that, it's over. Because this is the issue that's going to revitalize the economy. The economy is struggling, and if you vote against that, and it's over with the Republicans. Remember we all voted against that? Do you remember what the left, which is 99% of the press, was saying? How this is it? And I think, again, I think we've learned, I think we've listened, and I think, again, as I said to you about what I need to do with you, again, I've been doing this for a little while, but I haven't represented my birth county before, Broward County. So it's up to me to earn your trust. It's up to Congress, this new Republican Congress, to earn the trust of the American people. And I will tell you that we don't have a large window of opportunity. People didn't vote for us because they love us. They just realized that the other side is dangerous. And we have an opportunity to prove ourselves. We have an opportunity to save the country. I think that we're going to continue to listen. I think, again, I'm very optimistic. I'll take it. I feel
Offline, because we're running late. Vince, offline. You can still ask the question offline.
I'll go sit with you.
How about that?
I'll go sit with you. Can I introduce Rosa Hernandez from my office? I'm sorry. Let me just introduce Rosa Hernandez is here with me tonight. She's been with me now for, I guess, 6 years. And she's the Deputy District Director. So you all will be seeing a lot of her as well. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Well, Congressman, thank you for visiting with us, and we hope that over the years, over this next year, you will come by and visit with us often and tell us as to what you're doing and the bills you're passing. That said, Congressman Ballard. Sir, this club would like to apply for redesigning your website, and we'll do it for a bargain price of $5 million.
6 or 7 million?
We'll give you a 10% discount. How about that?
Plug in the cable.
All right, now Rose is going to talk about the holiday party real quick, and then we'll do the.
Really quick. Also, we have some great door prizes. Get your tickets in over there. And don't forget about the envelopes on the table for the speaker, for Franz. Real quickly, the holiday party, December, Friday night. That's our club party. There's a potluck dish or $10 a head. We're trying to keep it very reasonable. There could possibly be a combination, a holiday party coming up with 3 clubs involved. I don't have details yet, but I'll send out the emails. It's Friday, December 3rd, the holiday party. It's going to be at the home of Frank Espinoza and Andrea's in Southwest Ranches. And Frank is there, and
the address will come through the email.
I'll get it all. I'll get the details out to you in the email. Also, the December meeting, our slate of officers, we need you to volunteer, please. Again, I'll send you an email. Good night, all.
Okay, Mrs. Klein, you got the door prizes. Could you have Mayor Truex?
Three tickets, and the first one is we got the number. Number is
362515. Over here.
362515.
Thank you, James.
The winner of the car, 362.
362523.
You can just, wonderful, thank you. You can just go to the page, we got you. One more. The number is 531.
531.
531.
That's it, 531.
Well, that's the last figure.
Okay, last 3 digits, 531. All right, folks, the next meeting is on the 13th of December, and we are adjourned. Thank you for coming.